Welcome into episode 83, College Football Smothered and Covered. Did you miss me? Well, I missed you because it's been about a week and a half since we did this show. Was out in Cooperstown, New York for my son's 12U baseball tournament, then made a 3-day stop in New York City with the family, my son and my daughter. So been busy. I appreciate you guys checking out this show. We will have story time from the Empire State coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. But we have college football to get to because a lot went down while I was gone. So we're going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk a little bit about Les Miles. We're going to talk a little bit about Ohio State and, of course, Brent Venables at Oklahoma. BetOnline is your number one source for all things sports, whether it be golf, whether it be baseball, MMA, whatever. BetOnline has you covered. Every stat, matchup, live odds, all of that they've got over at BetOnline. Hey, when you're done, go over to their online casino. They've got blackjack. They've got slots. They've got poker. They've got everything over at that casino. Go over there today. Go to BetOnline, use promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V. That's B-L-E-A-V. You'll get 50% off your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. As I say every episode, go follow everybody. Go watch everybody. College football is the most undercovered sport in all the land. You deserve better. We're here to provide you better coverage in the world of new media. So go check everybody out. Maybe you like what I say. Maybe you don't like what I say. Whatever. You're going to like it at some point, and you're going to hate those other guys at some point. That's just how things roll in our college football ecosystem. All right. So on Friday, sitting in New York City, and I see the news come across that Brent Venables gets a 6-year contract extension. And my immediate response was, all right, cool. He deserves it. And then I look online, and I'm glad X is not real life. It shouldn't be real life. I really, really hate that some people think it is real life. And I see outcry over Brent Venables getting a 6-year contract extension. And I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with you people? He went from a first-time head coach 2 years ago, which I think we will all agree was not good, to a coach that had that team in the top 15 for a lot of last season and has found its stride in terms of what its identity will be moving forward. Brent Venables has that team playing defense. Brent Venables has Oklahoma going in the direction of where Clemson was when Venables was DC there, as opposed to the Lincoln Riley era when defense wasn't even optional. It was a myth. It was like fantasy. And so just from that alone, Brent Venables deserves a contract extension. And he's got a lot of those guys to stick around, which is even more important because this year going into the SEC, you need to have some sort of identity. And for Oklahoma, it might be that defense. But the blueprint between that and an offense that will include Jackson Arnold and still retain some sort of those dynamic elements that it had under Lincoln Riley makes it a perfect fit. And you need stability going into the SEC. You need recruits, both high school and transfers, to know, you know what, I'm playing for that guy. That guy gets me. That guy can win championships. I can live out my NFL dreams by going there. That's all an extension is. That's all an extension is. And so this outcry was just insane to me. I saw some people saying, well, Oklahoma just Jimbo'd itself. What? Texas A&M committed to Jimbo Fisher like it was an ironclad marriage that nobody could get out of. Can Oklahoma get out of this if Brent Venables fails? Yes. Can Brent Venables leave? Yes. Is it that big of a deal? No. Just a few years added on. It happens everywhere. You have a successful season and you get your extension. You get your raise. That's not Jimboing somebody. That's just reassuring everybody that they're happy with where this program is going. It doesn't matter what program. Just reassures everybody that things are good. They're stable. They're headed in the right direction. And Oklahoma, aren't they? They are. It's hard to win as a first-time head coach. Really hard to win as a first-time head coach in a Power 5 conference. Brent didn't do that his first season. He did in his second season. Now, is that program ready for the SEC? Talked to a lot of folks, and the answer, I think, is no, because it was supposed to be year after next that Texas and Oklahoma were going to join the SEC. It's a year early. I think a lot of us thought that was a possibility, but it's harder for Oklahoma to prepare for that move than it is Texas, and that's okay. If Oklahoma goes 8-4 this season, people are going to jump all over Brent Venables for reasons I can't imagine, at least based on the outcry that existed from people who I respect in our industry, people who I know personally, people I've worked with during my 20 years in this business. This contract doesn't crank up pressure on Brent Venables to win immediately in the SEC. It's just reassurance that Oklahoma thinks that Brent Venables can win in the SEC sometime in the near future. Shouldn't that be the expectation at Oklahoma? Shouldn't that be the expectation everywhere? The answer is yes, it should be. So congratulations to Brent Venables. Congratulations to Oklahoma. Its administration, its players, its fans. What Brent Venables has done has laid a foundation that is more stable than the one that Lincoln Riley had. Lincoln Riley was smoke and mirrors. He was all sizzle. He was no steak. What Brent Venables has shown in 2 seasons is that he can cook that steak. He has the ability to stick that ribeye on the grill and cook it up to perfection. So why not reward him? Good for Oklahoma, good for Brent Venables. It is the right decision. So on SiriusXM College Sports Sunday, on Sunday, June 23rd, Chris Plank and I discussed a little bit about some comments that former Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer and former coach Jim Tressel had about the state of Ohio State football. And I thought it was interesting because there's a lot of correlation between what they said and what Nick Saban built. What was expected of Kirby Smart when he got hired at Georgia? What was expected of Urban Meyer himself when he got hired at Ohio State? And they said that this was the most talented Ohio State roster ever. And at first I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know, 02 was pretty darn solid. 14 was damn good. Even 12 when Urban Meyer was there. When they had that successful season but couldn't go to the title game because they, for whatever reason, wanted to play in a bowl game the year before under Luke Fickell. I don't know why that was a good idea. It was still dumb, but whatever. That was still a really talented team. And I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's the most talented Ohio State team because you loaded up in the transfer portal. You got a lot of guys, especially defensively, who chose to return instead of going to the NFL draft. So the talent is there. And you've got, I think, a skill position group that might be the best in Ohio State history. So I don't blame them for thinking that. I don't blame Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel for thinking that. It makes a ton of sense. But what was really interesting to me is that by saying those words out loud, Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel, when they say things like that, it carries weight. They know it carries weight. That's the important part. Publicly, I don't care. But the fact that they know that statements like that carry a ton of weight means that the pressure on Ryan Day cranked right up, even more than it was before. Because think about what's happened. And this is, you can trace this back to last spring, I guess. Might have been last winter when Ryan Day said, you got to have a $12 to $15 million essentially payroll to compete. And I think after a season, it's like, no, you need more than that. You definitely need more than that. And I'm not saying Quinshon Judkins or Will Howard or Caleb Downs went to Ohio State for the money. I have no idea. You have no idea, most likely, unless you're part of that collective at Ohio State. I think we can all assume that, you know what? They probably upped that budget, that payroll, just a little bit to attract all those players. That's fine. But if this is the most talented roster in Ohio State history, if this is something that even supersedes what Urban had and what Jim Tressel had, then Ryan Day is in for a very, very rude awakening if things go south. Because what happens if Ohio State doesn't make the playoff? What happens if they go 9-3? What happens if they go 10-2, make the playoff, and have an early exit? Ryan Day's gone. If you can't win with this roster, which some think, some very important, some very knowledgeable people think is the most talented roster in Ohio State history, why bother even coaching the team? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. So Urban and Jim have to understand, and I think they do, what this does to Ryan Day, because there's frustration. We all know that. We all know there's frustration in Columbus. Can't beat Michigan, can't win the division. Now there are no divisions, but it doesn't matter. Can't win the big one. Now they have to. Now it is national championship or bust, or at least Final Four or bust. And I think that's a little unfair because it takes a lot of luck to win a national championship. It takes a lot of luck to navigate through all of those choppy waters. And most importantly, we have no idea what things actually mean in this new era. I remember in 2014, Ohio State lost to Virginia Tech in week 2. Everybody in the Big Ten seemed to lose that week. And the narrative, and I was guilty of this, and I was at Bleacher Report at the time, everybody there, everybody at CBS where I used to work as well, and everybody, the Big Ten's down. End it. The Big Ten's done. Not going to win anything this year in the first year of the 4-team college football playoff. Well, you know what? They did. Ohio State won the national championship. So I think it's premature for anybody to say, okay, this is what Ohio State needs to do. The problem is it might not matter because by the time Ohio State finishes its season, unless it's in the top 4, it will already have made a change. And things like this, when Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel say it's the most talented team in Ohio State history, don't help. They don't help. So if I'm Ryan Day, I'm thinking, yeah, I got a great team, but oh, damn. Things don't work out. I'm done.
I'm done. And look, the Michigan game obviously matters more than anything else. We're all expecting this to be a down year for Michigan, at least in terms of what the ceiling was under Jim Harbaugh. Can you imagine what would happen if Ohio State loses to Michigan, even if the Buckeyes make the playoff? It's going to be a hard pill to swallow. It's going to be a real hard pill to swallow. All right, Les Miles suing the school and the NCAA to reinstate vacated wins in order to make a run at the College Football Hall of Fame. Now, first of all, I think an arbitrary winning percentage in order to be eligible and be on the ballot is insane. Mike Leach and his inability to be on that ballot because he's like a hair away from reaching that level is proof enough that it's stupid. But it's kind of petty for Les Miles. A lot of coaches have vacated wins. A lot of coaches have vacated wins. Shouldn't cheat, or at least get caught. Everybody cheats. You got to be a big idiot to get caught. But to me, more than anything else, it reeks of arrogance on Les Miles' part, narcissism on Les Miles' part. Those of you who have not covered the SEC or paid attention to the SEC, you now realize what a lot of us dealt with Les Miles during his career at LSU. Narcissism was up there. He's one of those dudes that says, oh, I don't pay attention to what the media says, and absolutely does. Every single thing we say. And if you don't believe me, man, I got some proof. I'm not going to say it, but not going to point it out, but I do. And I save receipts privately. Y'all know what's up if you know, if you're part of that program. But just petty, narcissistic. Should Les Miles be a Hall of Famer? I don't know, maybe. Probably. I mean, won a national championship in 2007 with some weird circumstances. Yeah, it was Nick Saban's players, some of them anyway, but still, it takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot to do that. So I get it. I mean, LSU was a behemoth for the most part, but not always. Shortly after that national championship, LSU had a couple seasons where one, the defense sucked, and one, the offense sucked. He still maintained it at a really high level, getting to the national championship, winning the SEC. So I kind of go back and forth. Is he a Hall of Famer? He's got a pretty good case. With the vacated wins, we all know they happened. And he had to coach those games. He had to coach those players. And was he cheating? Yeah, technically. Was everybody else cheating? Yeah, some of them already been caught. Some of them went on probation during that era. A lot of them, in fact. So two things. One, Les Miles, I think, is worthy of a Hall of Fame induction, but is also very narcissistic in trying to do his best to get on the ballot because of vacated wins. Like, dude, come on. Just be who you are. Just be who you are. All right, story time from Cooperstown. Now, I was there from Wednesday to Wednesday. We went to New York City, watched the Braves on Friday, beat the Yankees. It was fun. But I'm not going to name names of our teammates' parents, but Robert Downey Jr. was there, Jake Arrieta was there, and Juan Pierre was there. Let me tell you, one with Robert Downey Jr., that dude was amazing. All the moms wanted to come find him. All of them. Like, they're like, well, we're playing on field 7. They're playing on field 6. Maybe we can get there and take a picture with him. And Robert, he sat there and he knew he was going to be swarmed, and it wasn't arrogance. He said, look, I'm going to set up a table. I'm going to sign some autographs and do all the pictures and stuff until my son's game starts. And then go watch the game. That's exactly how we should have treated it. He did a great job. Awesome to see him. A lot of moms swooned over him. It was hilarious, but not as much as they did over Jake Arrieta. That is an objectively handsome dude. And man, when the moms got a glimpse of him, this dude, Jake Arrieta, comes rolling into the gate. Now, it's like a camp, right? So the kids have barracks, and we're really, unless we check them out, we're not allowed to really see them. It's like North Korea and South Korea. There's a gate, and we're not allowed to step over a line. Jake Arrieta comes rolling to the gate for his and his son's team is all there. 2 24-packs of water on each shoulder, walking with ease. I'm like, dude, you look more like a bodybuilder than a former elite pitcher. Moms loved him. Now with Juan Pierre, you can't enjoy anything that has some sort of smoke or vaporization effect inside Cooperstown Dreams Park. Let's just say that he found that out from officials. Not any of the bad stuff, not any of the stuff that used to be illegal, just very funny. Super nice dude, though. He actually joked with us. He said, one of my buddies who's big into card collecting, autographs, he does that as like a side gig, walks up to him. He's talking to Juan, and he's like, "Are you Juan Pierre?" No, he says, "I'm sorry. You look an awful you look an awful lot like Juan Pierre." And he says, "That's because I am." So they chit chat. They were chit chatting for a little while, and he goes, "You know what, man? I'm really happy that you recognize me because I've been called Juan Uribe 3 times." And I'm like, "Juan Uribe? You look totally different." Well, Juan Pierre looks like he can still steal some bases. Fun time. Lost in the second round of bracket play. Fun time. If you have kids, go to Cooperstown Dreams Park when they're 12. It's only a 12U tournament. They run like 8 different weeks of tournaments. We had 86 teams our week there. It is an experience they will never forget. Even if they lose, even if they have bad weeks at the plate, even if they make a ton of errors, doesn't matter. Remember it for the rest of their lives. That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Hey, appreciate you checking out the show. Of course, we are brought to you by Bet Online. You can always go check out game lines, live lines, play in their online casino, anything that they have over Bet Online. You can go check it out. 50% if you use the promo code BELIEVE, 50% off your first deposit. Use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Bet Online, the game starts here. I promise you we will do more shows after our week and a half hiatus. We're back. Talk more college football. We're going to be here for you. Until then, have a great couple of days, everybody. We'll talk to you Monday.